This is a group of very experienced Member of Parliament who have been former ministers in various governments. And we have come here to South Africa to tell people of South Africa what really happened in India 5 weeks ago. There was a brutal attack on India's soul. 26 people, innocent people on vacation, tourists, were shot. It's a very unfortunate thing that has happened. Well, India, which is a country which has always wanted peace, harmony and growth in the neighborhood, this attack has come as a shock to all of us. And India's always globally led for peace, and the deep relationship, friendship we've had with South Africa, the country of Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela, two sons of this global soil, which have always talked about non-violence. So we feel very, very close to South Africa. We've been strategic partners. We hosted the G20, where you were a very important part of it. And this year, the Honorable Prime Minister of India is coming to South Africa when you're going to host, and we're really looking forward to coming here, working with you closer. In this interaction, I would request my colleagues to share the agenda of all of us coming here. They will share the experiences and the facts, what really happened in Belgaum. We have come here to tell you the truth that has happened, what happened after the attack, the retaliation, why it happened. But we want to put everything on the table for you to judge what really is the truth. We've had most wonderful meetings. The Ministry of External Affairs here has gone out of the way to fix some very, very good meetings which have been very, very productive. We have met Mr. Les Commander, Deputy Chairman of the National Council of Provinces, and 13 other Member of Parliament from various political parties. We met Mr. Supriya, Chairman of Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation, and members of their committee. Honorable Kenneth Morolong, Deputy Minister in the Presidency. Honorable John Steenhuisen, Leader of the Democratic Alliance Party and Minister of Agriculture, and his various party members. Today we met Mr. Fikile Mabulawa, Secretary General of the African National Congress, with the Deputy Minister of International Relations, Alvin Botus, Ms. Thandi Muraka, Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, and various other members of the ANC. So we had a very, very productive interactions, and they have reassured us that they're committed to India's cause of zero tolerance towards any terrorism anywhere in the world. So I would like to introduce my colleagues. I think we can start from the right to the left, and then we could open the floor for any questions that you have. Thank you.
Your first question, why is there such a big delegation from India? And the reason for that is very obvious. India is a very diverse multi-party democracy. And so therefore, on this platform, you have people representing different political parties, from the government to the opposition. This delegation is led by our honorable colleague, Mrs. Supriya Sule, who is the floor leader of one of the opposition parties in Parliament. I represent the principal opposition party in Parliament. My colleague here, Mr. Vikramjit Singh Sani, he is also from another opposition party. Both our colleagues, or three of our colleagues, Mr. Anurag Thakur, Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy, and our former Minister for External Affairs, Mr. Muralidharan, are from the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is the ruling party. And our friend, Mr. Labu Sri Krishna, is the floor leader of the Telugu Desam Party, which is supporting the government. So therefore, the manner in which this delegation has been structured and the way it has been constituted is to convey our national resolve that if terrorism keeps getting perpetrated against India from across the border, if Pakistan continues to use terrorism as an instrument of state policy, if you have a state on our western border where there is no distinction between the state and the semi-state actors that it spawns, then under those circumstances, it is our national resolve that under no circumstances would that be tolerable. India then reserves the right to energize the full spectrum of options that are available to it in order to protect and defend itself, its national interest.
Vis-a-vis the change of government in South Africa, I would like to refer that India, whichever country we engage with, be it South Africa or any other country, we don't engage with a particular party in government. We engage with the government irrespective of the party and with the people of that country. India's relationship with South Africa is a centuries-old relationship. We have been partners as people to people, as well as in trade and economy, and government to government. In a democratic process, it's natural that the people elect the government or the party they choose to the government. But countries engage themselves irrespective of these factors. And we have not found anything different from the approach of the previous government to the present government. Our trade continues to grow, our engagement continues to grow, and we have been making efforts to strengthen that relationship. We will continue to do so. And India's foreign policy, as far as change of party happens in India also, there has been last 11 years, we have a government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Before that, there was another party in governance. But India's foreign policy didn't undergo any change. India continues to have its foreign policy, which considers the interests of the globe of the international community, the global good, and the rule of law. These two aspects have been kept as prime importance. So we feel that the BRICS or the global south, the interests of the global south, the welfare of the global south will be of paramount importance to India, and we will continue to engage with South Africa as well as other partners in the same way that we have been doing. And there are many examples of change of governments, including in our neighborhood as well as in many other parts of the world. But that has not affected our relationship with those countries.
Thank you. I think you put a very relevant question, and let me first thank the South African leadership for their commitment towards standing together on the issue of terrorism. They were one of the first few countries who came forward, sent their condolences, at the same time gave their commitment towards India's policy of zero tolerance against terrorism. Here also, in the last 2 days, in our various meetings from different ideologies, various stakeholders, political parties, Indian community, I think each and every one feels that terrorism and any kind of threat to the citizens is not a welcome step, because it is a hindrance in the process of peace, progress and prosperity. We have seen when India hosted the G20, we went all out, and it was our commitment for the African Union to be a part of that. Not only that, India is a founding member of the BRICS. At the same time, I'm sure when South Africa is going to host the G20 this year, it is going to be historic as well. Our best wishes to South Africa. Our relation is historic, special, and strategic partnership will lead for many other areas to grow together. But as I said earlier, peace is the key. Peace plays a very, very important role. And if you have a neighbor who have been troubling you for the last 50 years by training extremists or terrorists on their soil, funding them, financing them, logistic and handling being handled by the Pakistan. And not only this, when the Pakistan Army, Lieutenant General, Major General, Brigadiers, top army officials get together to bid farewell to the slain terrorist, it clearly shows the Pakistan hand behind the terrorist attacks. Second, the slain terrorist bodies were wrapped in a Pakistani national flag. I think the picture was very loud and clear that who are behind the attacks. Now you talked about the Pakistan nationals who are here and creating some problem, one or the other. No country will accept that. No country will accept that. And especially when people and the children are losing their lives, I think it's a very, very sensitive matter. I leave it here. We stand on the issue of terrorism together and the progress together as well.
Thank you. I would like to address your very, very pertinent questions on BRICS, of course G20 and the India-South Africa bilateral relations. It is true that India have a historic relation with South Africa, and then that point of time ANC was the biggest, largest party, so we were engaging with ANC. But during this trip, this delegation had very fruitful discussions, whereas on one side, ANC Secretary General and all the senior leadership of ANC, we interacted with them. On the other hand, we had met the chair of DA, Mr. John, their spokesperson, Ms. Emma, and others. And this was also discussed, and we fully support the South-South cooperation. And also, as a member of the BRICS Council, I can say that it was in Durban that BRICS Forum, BRICS Business Forum was launched in 2012 or so. So we also are looking at ways among the BRICS countries to conduct the trade in local currencies. I think it is within our right to promote trade and investment, to promote through the New Development Bank, of which India was a great supporter, to get the regional office opened in South Africa. When Indian Mr. Kamath was the chairman of the BRICS Development Bank in China. So we have laid a greater emphasis that BRICS Development Bank should focus more also on the agri-value chain for the food security of Africa. G20, I happen to be part of B20, and we'll have a engagement in Cape Town. We hope that as India emerged as a great leader, and again we proven to be friends of Africa when our Honorable Prime Minister proposed, and it was accepted with a voice note for inclusion of African Union, AU, to the G20 group. It happened in Delhi, this historic thing. And the India-South Africa bilateral trade we have discussed yesterday with all your trade ministers, DTI, DIRCO, that India is very keen to sign a PTA, preferential trade agreement, and deep-rooted, carrying forward our historic relationships. Just to answer your question. Thank you.
I'll just wrap this up with 2-3 very short points. That I appreciate what you said about changing governments, but in any vibrant democracy, I think we should all accept what the will of the people is, and I think that's the beauty of democracy. So India is a vibrant democracy, so it globally accepts all governments which are democratically elected in a fair election, one. And second, what you talked about, the 35 children. India is very, very sensitive to any such things happening anywhere in the world. So we are very concerned about any such things. And if there's any way India can assist or help, we'd be glad to do that. Thank you.
But not to talk to any other parties. So, thank you. So, just if there was any reasoning behind that. And, sure.
Parties we met, of course, the ANC and NDA. But if you see, we met also the Deputy Chairman NCOP, who belongs in Khatha Freedom Party, and other MPs who were there, which included EFF as well. So in fact, we have, and in the Portfolio Committee meeting, other parties were also present. So Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation. So we have touched almost all the parties in the short time that we had here.
There are another 6 groups, so in total there are 7 groups that have been visiting almost 50 countries, and there are almost more than 50 MPs that are in this whole delegation, except for 3 countries. Whichever country our delegation has been going, everyone is very vehemently condemning the incident that has happened on April 22nd, and also they understand our point of view, why after the Pahalgam happened, the actions that Indian government has taken, because we have waited almost for 15 days. 15 days for Pakistan to take action on that. Still they didn't take any action. More than that, even from our side, there are 3 main issues that have been raised. One is that Pakistan, which is the host nation, there are a lot of non-state actors that are repeatedly attacking against India. And the second one is the Pakistan is willing to address these threats posed by these non-state actors. Third one is Pakistan is actively supporting and sponsoring these attacks by non-state actors. So these are the 3 issues that are bothering India, and this is not the first time, but it is happening repeatedly. And every time it happens, gone out of the way to the extent that even in one of the incidents that has happened in Uri, the ISA has been given access so that they can actually come and verify the facts and everything, but still no action has been taken. So there's a change of stance that has happened with India. So we want to go and explain to them wherever we went, whichever country we went, except for these 3 countries that have openly supporting the other nation. Except those 3 countries, every other nation is positively looking at it.
Direct interaction or we all have very packed schedules and traveling from one place to another, conveying the message of 1.4 billion Indians that we stand together as we are the victim of cross-border terrorism. And the message is very loud and clear. Whatever we have seen from the reports, that anywhere the other delegations have gone on the issue of terrorism, majority of the people have come in favor because it is not a threat only to India, but a threat to the world. And there is one country in the world which has become the birthplace and also the school for terrorism. Not only stopping there, they are funding, financing, logistic handling, and to the export of terrorism from the state of Pakistan. And I think that message, why I'm saying so is, as my dear friend Manish Tiwari ji has said, we may be from different ideologies, from different political backgrounds, different regions, may speak different languages. But on this platform, we are speaking just one language. Language of India against terrorism, exposing the role of Pakistan. Why so? Because during the Pahalgam attack, they identified people on the basis of religion and then killed them. They left the women and children to go back and spread the message that they have been identified on the basis of religion and killed. But look at the power and strength of India. There might be more than 1,000 accents, 22 national languages, which has been, as per our constitution and all, identified and recognized. Each and every state and stakeholder, people of India, want us to go across the world and spread the message and expose Pakistan. That is what we are doing. And I'm sure, like us, other groups are successful in conveying the message very loud and clear about Pakistan.
Multilateral organizations consider terrorism to be a crime that individuals and organizations do. So if you have a list of those entities and individuals which are sanctioned by the UN, it is always about individuals and entities. That's because the Westphalian system does not provide for states to do these acts which are criminal in nature. And therefore, the UN, which was formulated in the last century, doesn't have an approach to counter terrorism in the manner that we are facing now. And that's why South Africa and India together work to update the UN system. In fact, we want it to be fit for purpose for the challenges of the 21st century. And we work together in the trenches trying to reform the United Nations system. At this stage, that's not yet, it's a work in progress and it hasn't yet been completed. So where we need the UN, we have sensitized them. For example, the subcommittee which deals with designating terrorists. We had a team of experts go then and explain to them about how we could designate a terrorist organization which is called the Resistant Front. Now, the Resistant Front was the organization which took responsibility for this attack. Yet, there were some countries which helped it not to be named in a statement that the UN was doing. So we've provided them the information. That is a separate process. It's a technical process. It's a process which goes through the UN committees and will come out through a counter-terrorism report. So that's what we are engaging with the UN for, not in terms of interstate dialogue, because UN is not the forum for that sort of interstate dialogue.
That is for what we have come, the objective here is very simple. Something which they did which was unacceptable, killing innocent people, and we did retaliate. And the message is clear to Pakistan. If they do it again, we'll retaliate and hit them back again, number one. Number two, we are not scared, or anyone cannot play with the bogey of nuclear weapons. And third, we do not distinguish between a terrorist state and the terrorists therein. So these three things are fundamentals why we are going across the world and telling the world. So having said this, we do not see any foreseeable conversation on it unless until they get rid of their terror, unless until they restrain their terror completely and eliminate them. There is no question of any conversation. And we have already taken several steps, and that will continue till the time we find a semblance of sensibility coming into them. So this is the message which is clear and absolutely there.
You know, rewinding back over 4 decades, when India and Pakistan entered into the similar agreement, it was made absolutely clear that whatever conversations, if at all any, have to take place between India and Pakistan, they have to be done in a bilateral format. India has never accepted any third-party intervention, any third-party mediation, any third-party arbitration, any third-party dispute resolution. That's been our consistent position. And moreover, you cannot have a paradigm where terror and talks go hand in hand. So the condition precedent for any movement forward is that Pakistan has to completely dismantle the infrastructure of terror which they have created over the decades and which they have been using in order to inflict pain on innocent Indian civilians. Here is the conundrum. terror is an instrument which is used by non-state actors to perpetrate violence. And what do civilized states do in the face of such an atrocity is to come together, proscribe the place from where this terror emanates, and bring the terrorists to justice. What do you do when the state itself becomes a terrorist state? The difficulty with Pakistan is that there is no distinction, there is no Chinese wall between the Pakistani establishment, the deep state, and the infrastructure of terror which they have spawned. So therefore, any talks with a state which uses terrorism as an instrument of state policy is a complete non sequitur.
Assault back, or you won't assault first because, talks and terror don't go together. But you're the ones going around the world telling them what Pakistan has done. So the question to India is, well, what are you going to do?
We are not going around the world just to convince Pakistan is a terrorist state. It's already been proven. If there is Osama bin Laden that comes out of Pakistan, people know. And coming to South Africa, you have a great cricket team. For how many years your cricket team didn't tour Pakistan? What was the reason? Because it was not safe to travel. And there are many other instances where it was clearly shown that Pakistan is harboring terrorists and terrorist organizations. So there is nothing to prove by us traveling to various other countries that Pakistan is a failed state and Pakistan is hosting the terrorists. That is already proven. But what we are doing on this whole delegation was we've changed our defense, whatever doctrine that we have until now. We have maintained the restraint that what you mentioned, that we won't attack. But what we are trying to do with this delegation now is we are trying to tell the friendly countries like you that this defense strategy has been changed. We don't see difference between a country that is hosting terrorists and a terrorist organization. If someone is hosting them, definitely we will try to eliminate that threat because this is really bothering India. And this is what we are trying to tell all our friends like South Africa and other countries.
Do you think South Africa? Do you think South Africa is hosting a terrorist Pakistan?
No. So let me try and explain what it is. You see, when countries change their terms of engagement with other countries, it behoves us to sensitize our friends. So what Sri Krishna Deva Raya just mentioned is that India has changed its doctrine in terms of engagement with Pakistan. So it's important for everybody to know that henceforth this will be our approach. And we need to engage and sensitize everybody for this reason that we would want you all to know that going forward, there's going to be a change in our approach. And this is a form of preventive diplomacy. We are not looking at the past. We know what has happened in the past, but when looking at the future, we don't want you to be surprised should something happen again in India. And our response is the way we've explained. We've drawn some red lines. We wouldn't want those red lines to be crossed. And we are communicating this to everybody in a manner that they understand properly. So please understand that we came to friends first. So the first visit in Africa actually is to you. Because of our ties with you, because of our engagement with South Africa for years. So it has nothing to do with a domestic arrangement. We are talking of our concern at a global level and our concern that we need to sensitize our friends and to warn those who think that they can get away with it again in the future, that it's not going to be the same. India's terms of engagement in countering terror have changed.
ANC and the Democratic Alliance, right? So I want to know what was South Africa's stance, what did they say about support to India against this Pakistani terror hubs and terrorists operating?
Our engagements and the interactions that we had were not limited to only the ANC or the Democratic Alliance. We had a engagement with the whole of government, the parliamentarians, and parliamentarians representing various parties within the government and outside the government. So we had interactions with everyone. One. Second thing, what was the second part of the question?
What kind of support South Africa?
Yeah. And we found it very encouraging. We had interactions with think tanks, community, and we had a very positive response. We found it very encouraging. They were on the same page. In fact, many of those with whom we engaged, they expressed their solidarity also with the Indian people and the society. And there was an overwhelming opinion, a consensus that emerged during the discussions that the international community has to be united against terror in whatever forms and manifestations it is expressed. So we find that and our view is that this visit was highly successful, was very productive, and we look forward in the coming days that this will increase the momentum at the global level for against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations.
Just to add, if you recall the Pahalgam attack on 22nd, on 23rd of April, South African government issued a statement condemning the attack and also condemning terrorism in all its forms and wherever it occurs. So you can see the response of the government, which is more or less the response of everyone we met.
We had a very fruitful engagement with the entire Indian community, and there were discussions, and they felt very cheerful, getting the backing of such a powerful, multi-party, multi-dimensional, multi-regional, whatever you say, cutting across party lines, cutting across provinces. They were very enthusiastic, and we did sing some patriotic songs together. So it was a very good bonhomie for them, and they are all for zero tolerance for terrorism. And of course, India is sweeping the world away, whether it is Indian cuisine or its beautiful culture and unity in diversity. And now I must say, about 5 minutes from here, there's a Sikh temple, Indian Gurdwara, where I am also a trustee, and you get 24/7 nice veg curries and cholas and everything, just a walking distance from this hotel. Thank you.
I think also enjoyed the South African.
No, just to circle back to your earlier question about delegations. Pakistan doesn't send delegations; it sends terrorists.
That has anything to do with our outreach, because that has not even impacted India's response after the Pahalgam. And there was an earlier question that there are only two ways of responding, either militarily or bilaterally. India has now shown to the world that there are many other ways. Like, we didn't attack anyone militarily. We didn't cause any damage to civilians. We searched out the hideouts of the terrorists and then eliminated that. So that was the response that India did. Of course, bilateral engagement, we have always been open, but at the same time, bilateral engagement cannot happen when on the one hand you have training centers for terrorists and send those terrorists across the country. And our outreach Our outreach is an effort, as Ambassador Akbaruddin mentioned. The multilateral bodies have not found a mechanism to deal with such terror of the state. So it becomes imperative that the international community and countries across the world have to come together to put pressure on the multilateral bodies to reform themselves. So India has been demanding the reformation of the multilateral bodies, and terror is one area where it requires further consensus, further awareness creation. So to that extent, we believe and we are convinced that our effort has been really encouraging, and it will prove to be productive.
Thank you.
See, Pakistan has a first use doctrine. India has a declared no first use doctrine. But within the nuclear overhang, there is enough space for a conventional punitive response if Pakistan continues to perpetrate terrorism against India. So no one should be under any illusion that the nuclear shield can be used as an instrument of blackmail to continue perpetrating terror against India.
If you remember pandemic, it was more of infodemic. A lot of misinformation flown from one part to other part on the digital platforms, from the WhatsApp group to the X to the others, which has taken thousands and thousands of lives in each country. So the first-hand information is always useful. So we are here from different political parties, representing 1.4 billion Indians, to communicate what actually is going on the ground, convey the right message, what is the new normal as far as for the counter-terrorism across the border we are facing for the last few years. And we just want to keep you informed, the friends from the media and friends in the government and the opposition political parties, that what India is facing for the last few years and what India's new normal approach is going to be against the terrorism or to counter the terrorism. Thank you.